Thanks for stopping by. I'm Madar, and in today's video, I'll be covering how I challenge myself to draw portraits every day for 2 weeks. I'll be sharing my personal experience on doing this with tips, comments, and the lessons that I learned along the way, as well as go over the sources that I found helpful so that you can undertake one of these challenges yourself. I also think there's a huge difference between day 1 and day 14, so be sure to stick around until the end to see my progress. Alright, starting with day 1. Right now I'm following a face drawing tutorial by Hamrib Art. I drew this first face without any reference photo. I was just having fun and following the tutorial. She definitely looks proportionally off, but that's okay seeing as it's a first and I'll be using it as a sort of prototype to compare to. And now I started on my second face of day 1. And overall, I'm feeling pretty excited, well, both determined and excited, because I can definitely see that I have a lot of room for improvement in this field, and I'm looking forward to seeing how much I'll grow over the course of this challenge. By day 2, I watched some more face drawing tutorials, but I particularly liked this YouTuber called Chomeng Art. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. I really liked the simplicity of his style and how the faces he drew didn't have too much shading, yet still looked more on the realistic side. They just gave me this nice finished yet unfinished sketch sort of vibe, which I wanted to give a try here. I have links in the description of a bunch of videos that I watched and found helpful throughout this challenge, so Chomeng Art will definitely be down there, so take a look if you're interested. There's something I really love about my first reference photo on day 3. I really like her pose, the angle of her face to the camera, her eyes, her hair, her expression, just everything. And I don't want to be hard on myself concerning my performance at all during this challenge because it's a learning experience, but I definitely want to return to that reference photo and try redrawing it later on. You can see with my second portrait of the day that I'm more loose with my pencil strokes, and that's because I felt really constrained with the first one. Anyway, day 4, I'm moving on to a new page since the last one was getting a bit crowded. So I'm starting on my first portrait of the day, and the main thing that I had trouble with was capturing the low angle shot, and I don't think it worked out for this one, so that's another thing I should take note to work on for myself. So on to the second portrait. I chose a profile view reference for this one, and I think it turned out pretty well. My siblings say that this one is their favorite out of all of them so far, but as for me, every portrait here is like a baby to me, and I mean, I can't choose, whatever. Anyway, on to day 5. So this one, okay, right after I just said, oh, I shouldn't pick favorites, I was about to say, oh, this one's my favorite, but okay, I'm not gonna do that. I like it though, and I think it turned out looking the most like the reference, so after this one, I felt pretty good. But on my second portrait of that time, I was just like, no, okay, this is not working. I'm not going to continue. It was just like bad feelings. I'm like, no, it's not a good day for this one. So day 6, I'm starting my first portrait as usual. You know the routine by now, so let's talk about some other things. If you're wondering how I get my reference photos, I just search up free portrait photos and unsplash.com comes up, so that's where I get the majority of them. This is unsponsored, by the way. I don't click on images because of copyright and stuff. I'm not 100% sure how it all works with the copyright and if there even is a copyright thing for drawing other people's photos, so don't take my word for it. If you know more about this though, let me know in the comments. I think it would be helpful for everyone. But I like to stay on the safe side, so I use unsplash.com, and I like the photos there too, so it works out.
I'm stuffed.
Alright, day 7. We have drawn a week's worth of faces, and I can already see the improvements since day 1, which, of course, means we're on the right track. For the first face, although the proportions are a bit off, I was trying to capture the spirit of the hair, but it turned out looking a bit more stiff than I wanted. And I think that was because I was afraid of messing up, which really made me restrained in my pencil strokes. But on the second face, I was like, whatever, I'll just draw another one, I don't care how this turns out. And I think that because I wasn't worried about ruining my drawing, it looks much better than my first. Today I attempted to tackle that low angle shot again that I was having trouble with on day 4, but I felt it didn't work out on day 8 either. And I'll be honest here, I was very disappointed and upset with myself, even though now I see that it wasn't very just, because I was and still am learning, but I had this notion in my head that I would get that low angle down pat, and when it didn't happen, I was upset because I had set this expectation for myself, and when I couldn't deliver, instead of telling myself, oh, it's okay, you're learning, and this is just a skill you should aim to master, but your shading actually has improved since the previous day, I told myself, what? You still can't do it yet? You should have been able to do it by now. What in the world? Then this whole thing is going nowhere. And I was just going on and on and on with myself, and I was feeling really discouraged. But I still gave it another try and redrew the same reference photo, but it didn't work out either, and I felt really burned out. And I'm telling you all this to illustrate that no expectation is better than any expectation. Stop telling yourself where you should be, and instead see how to get there and encourage yourself to make that journey. Because if you think you'll get better at anything by pressuring and bullying yourself, then let me tell you something. You're wrong. There's a saying that you should treat others like you should treat yourself, but I think that in addition to that, you should treat yourself how you would treat others. And just like others flourish under positivity, so will you, especially when it's you believing in yourself and you who is your biggest cheerleader. And I know you're telling me I'm my biggest critic, blah, 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 but there's a fine line between constructive criticism and outright negativity, and I think that's a line some of us beginning artists, including me, tend to cross pretty often, especially in the beginning stages. And I'm sure the pros experience it too. No one is immune, and that's okay. Just keep in mind that encouraging yourself and focusing on the positive will lead to more improvement than pushing yourself down and burning out. For this face on day 11, I worked on letting go and letting myself experiment and follow my artistic instinct. I played around a bit with the hair and drew in more of it than there was in the reference, and also exaggerated the blowing in the wind quality. I felt satisfied with this face, but most importantly, I felt this warm happiness for it, even though it wasn't perfect. It was acceptance, and I feel that was a huge step forward for me personally. On day 12, I summed up my courage to try yet another low-angle shot, but this time with the mindset that I would be fine with it no matter how it turned out. And I honestly think that this time I actually sort of got it. So I think that after day 12 comes the turning point in my drawing and where my real improvement starts. Although I was having some trouble with the proportions with the first portrait, at least in the beginning, on day 13, I think it turned out pretty good in the end. As with the second portrait, I was feeling pretty adventurous and I completely drew in the hair from my imagination, and I had a lot of fun doing it. So that sums up day 13. Moving on to day 14. Yay! We made it! Cheers! I'm so excited. Oh, that sucked. Yay! Yay! We made it! Cheers! Anyway, I'm very happy with how this portrait turned out, and I think I grew so much over the course of this challenge, both as a person and in my skill. So I know there's a lot of room for improvement still, but I think at this point I'm confident enough to already utilize the skills that I learned here into other works of art. But anyway, it's been so nice spending time with you here. Let me know in the comments which face is your favorite and what you're currently working on in your art journey or in anything in general if you don't do art. I try my best to respond to your comments, so hopefully you won't find it a waste of time. If you learned from this video or simply enjoyed, then please give that like button a tap. And if you haven't already, then subscribe and join our steadily growing community here. We would love to have you. And we're just a group of very nice people, so you probably won't regret it. But most importantly, thank you for being here. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!